second. Just getting all these titles down. Alright. I got a little guest with me today. My oldest daughter gonna be back, and of course she's standing on the sideline. Nobody can really see her. But good evening, good afternoon, good wherever everybody's at. Good morning, wherever you are, all over the world watching me. This is High and Mighty Talks with me, the intellectual Newman Conrays, and we're back again. We live again. I've been busy, like I said, family and things like that, and just doing, manly stuff, just my family, take care of everything. And running the community is tedious, and doing, the things I got to do in my daily life. But I always make sure I come back to this platform, to this forum that I started to share my talks with you, and eventually my thoughts. Well, I don't have to be on camera all the time, because I do. Those of you who watch me and know my work, I do a nightly broadcast. Many of you got introduced to MENTELLECT through the radio broadcast, MENTELLECT Radio, and we also do American Republic A.R.C. Radio. So a lot of people got introduced to that, and thank those of you who supported over the years, listened over the years, and took us under your thoughts and whatnot, and just undertook what we were saying, and just open and being open-minded to listen, and use your thought instead of always using belief, like black people are expected to do, like the world is expected to do, but especially black people. You see, black people are not expected to think. They're not expected to utilize logical and rational thinking, so therefore, they're just left to believe in things, which I'm going to discuss that among other things. Before I start, in the name of Amen, the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, in Amen we trust, in Amen we thank, and in Amen we continue forward forever. So the first thing I'm going to be speaking on this evening is that Alabama little melee, that little dust-up that took place, in which the black residents of Alabama at the boating complex or whatever that was over there, boating arena, they had to beat the brakes off of some, as they say, suspected white supremacists. A lot of racial epithets were hurled at those, at the black people, at the black port captain, whatever he was. I don't know what his title is, but he was basically in charge of keeping the boats clear in that area for the ferry boats and all the other boats to dock in. And these white guys, they came and brought their boat there. Everybody knows the story. This video is going viral. And the white guys came in and left their boat there, and they didn't seem to give a damn whether the people could board and dock and get off the boat. They didn't care. They just parked their boat there, and they weren't supposed to be able to do that. And the so-called black man, he was a brother, let him know, you can't stay here. He moved their boat, and they got offended by that. I guess the so-called black man in Alabama, because Alabama has a history, like a lot of those southern states have a history of anti-black, so-called anti-black violence and racial strife. They had that. So this guy, the white guy, who one of the guys who was on the boat, or I guess it was his boat, he took off on the so-called black man, punched him in his face and whatnot, and the black man just took his hat off, and he started fighting and whatnot, and then a bunch of white guys jumped him. Y'all seen the video. Like I said, I'm not gonna give a whole recap, but my question is, and this is a pertinent question, why is this so trendy? Why is this trending so much? Why is this a hot topic? Why is this, this situation of people fighting? Because people fight every day. Why is this so, so big now? Why is this so, even it was a guy who was hitting people with chairs, and now people are selling shirts with people hitting chairs. They call this guy the chairman of the board. Like this was like a seen as to be a major event. that took place. And I had my thoughts on why, because see, people never really go behind the true meaning of why things become popular and trendy. Because like I said, people fight every day, people die every day, everything, all these things happen. So why was this particular situation considered, a big thing, a big, newsworthy thing? Answer, because like I said, in Alabama, where I think it was I forgot what part of Alabama it was. Was it Montgomery? I don't know, but it's one of them places where, there was a whole lot of racial strife and whatnot. And to see black people, actually come together collectively to protect one another when one of their own is being jumped. Because white people, they'll do that in a heartbeat. In fact, the white guys all band together against that one black guy. The white guys all band together and jumped on him, and the women kicked him, and they were saying F that nigga, they were saying F that N-word, F that nigga and whatnot. This all the racial stuff that was coming out of their mouth. And all this man was doing his job. That's all he did, was do his job. All he did was do his job. They couldn't park, they couldn't put their boat, they couldn't dock their boat there, and they had an attitude about that. But it just goes to show you the idea that these people they didn't like the idea of a so-called black man telling them to move their boat. Because I'm pretty sure if it was a white guy that told them to do that, they wouldn't have had no problem. They would have moved the boat. It wouldn't have been no putting hands on him. But they seem to be offended that a so-called black man had the audacity in 2023 to tell them to move their boat. That's really what had them attack him like a pack of wild animals. And of course, the brother, he stood up, so-called black man, he stood up and, threw the hands back and whatnot, and beat the brakes off some of these, off these savages. And then, some other black people joined in and further finished the job, put the beats on. And I say bravo to that, because black people need to start sticking together on some kind of level, even though we know it's not gonna be a long-term thing, because black people don't know how to think systematically, which I'm going to get into in a minute. Why black people don't know how to think systematically. That to see black people do what they were supposed to do, which was when you see another so-called black person getting jumped on by, and you see that the situation is that the man was just doing his job, and these people just decided to commit a criminal offense and assault this man for doing his job. And I don't even think these guys got arrested, or if they got arrested, they got let go. They probably not going to get them no real charges. But these are the only people that should be locked up. It shouldn't be those black people that helped, or that black man who defended himself. These are the only people, these animals should be the only ones who attacked them, should be locked up for assault and everything else. You see. But, this so-called justice system, as I say, here in this country is not really a system of justice like what you think justice means. I said this in my radio broadcast, that justice is just another way of saying justification. In other words, a lot of these Caucasians and their justice system is just a way to justify breaking the law. And that's what Caucasian people do. I'm not saying all white people who are classified as white, but I'm saying how this justice system is set up. It's really a justification system to let certain people off the hook when they commit criminal offenses, be it murder, assault, theft or whatever. So when you go to the court system, just understand or know that you're going to a system where they're going to justify, or people are here to justify their actions. They're not really here to, be judged so much. They're not really here to, pay for their crime, or things, or be sentenced under what the law guidelines is, because you got males who make up the law. I'm not even gonna call these people men. I'm gonna get into that in a second. You got a bunch of males who make up the policies of the society, not laws. Because like I said before, this society is not run by laws; it's run by policies. This is why you got politicians who push out the policies of the United States corporation. They push the policies from the corporations, the bankers and whatnot. They're the ones who really decide the policies of America. Not your congressmen, not your senators. They don't make, there's no laws here. There's policies here. That's why you got police officers. This is where you get the word policy from. You got police officers, you got politicians, all going with the policy. You see, all going with the policy. You see, they have a lot of policies in place, and people mistake these for being laws. And they're not laws. Because they were laws, these people will follow the laws. You got so-called laws on the books that the police officers and them don't even follow. They stay violating people's rights. They stay violating people's rights. So, because a lot of these so-called police, these policy officers, I call them, they're not law enforcement, they're policy officers for the states and for the corporation called the United States. They're policy officers. Their job is to be basically a goon squad. They're not really here to help people or keep the law, because how you going to call yourself a law enforcement when you breaking the law? Make that make sense to me. How do you call yourself law enforcement when you, in fact, are putting on a badge and taking an oath and you breaking the law? Police officers should receive the harshest judgment. Police officers, when they break the law, they should receive the most harshest judgment, because they took an oath to uphold the law. They took an oath to protect and serve. They take an oath for that. Under God, as they say. They put their hand up and they go through the whole swearing in process before they become peace officers or police officers or policy officers. And then they break the goddamn laws. They violate people's rights. They don't even know the law. Their whole thing is they just want to look for warrants, lock up black people, as many black people as possible, lock up black people, look for warrants, sometimes plant drugs, whatever, to get an arrest to justify them having a job. So they don't mind setting people up and doing things, breaking the law, violating people openly. And people sit up here and try to tell them the law, according to the law of this state. And people know the law. They don't want to hear that. They're going to put hands on you. They're going to assault you. And this is state sanctioned. This is nothing but state sanctioned thuggery. It's state sanctioned thuggery. Your tax money, not just white tax money, black tax money, all tax money is going to fund state-sanctioned thuggery. A bunch of suspected so-called white supremacists, or I call them white degenerates, who join the police force, and they put a stain on the police departments in this country. They put a stain on it. Because if you're saying that you're here to protect and serve and uphold the law, and the very people that you're hiring to do that are breaking the law, like just now in you see all this stuff coming out in Mississippi. You had these 6 Caucasian Europeans, police officers, European American police officers, these Caucasians. They took 2 so-called black men, 2 indigenous men of this society, so-called black men, and they did all kind of torture on these guys, because according to them, these guys were dating white women, white females. And one of the guys got shot in the mouth by the police. They just tortured these people for hours, like literally 2 hours. They tortured these people in their home. These people didn't break no law. They didn't do anything. It's just that these Europeans felt as though these so-called black men violated the law of Mississippi, of a so-called black man being with a white female, right? And one guy got shot in the mouth. They did all kind of foul stuff. They were using all kind of sex toys on them, which proves that a lot of these European police officers are sodomites. A lot of them are sodomites. A lot of them are degenerates. A lot of them are weirdos. Because who walks around with a damn dildo? Who walks around with a damn dildo and you want to put it up another man's rectum? You sick, and you a degenerate, and you a sodomite. You're sick. You got a lot of sick people walking around here, a lot of sick individuals on the police force, black, white, and everything in between, and Latinos, all that goes across the board. Just like you got some good cops, you got some good white cops, black cops, good cops. You got a lot of, but when you got bad apples in the apple cart, it's going to eventually spoil all the apples. It's going to spoil all the apples. So the fact that the police are not saying, you know what? We don't want these people associated with us, because these people over time are going to get y'all killed. They're going to get you hurt. They're going to put your lives in danger. Because what's going to happen is, and I've been telling y'all, what's going to happen is when people keep on seeing this police brutality, the people are going to fight back. The people are going to start looking at the police as enemies, as public enemy number one. And it's going to be a damn a target on the police back, on so-called law enforcement's back. Because rather than people going with the police like they would normally do, giving you a cooperating with you, when they start hearing about people being shot, beaten up, or having dogs sick, there was another case where they sicked the dog on this so-called black man who was complying. The dog bit the guy up, and the guy just let the white boy just let the dog loose on him. So you got a bunch of state-sanctioned racists who are carrying out terrorist acts under the color of law, and they sitting around here wearing badges and acting like it's justice. And then this country backs them up. The president backs them up. The Justice Department, again, the Justification Department, backs up these hired criminals. These are criminals. These are criminals. These are not lawmen. These are not lawmen. These are not law enforcement. They are criminals wearing badges. You see? And they need to be looked at as that. Because as soon as a police officer breaks the law, he should no longer be considered a police officer. And if a citizen decides to fight for his life, fight or flee, or try to, if it's coming down between me and you, you're not a cop no more, because now you violate me. You're trying to hurt me. You're trying to kill me. You're trying to take my life because something's wrong with you. They should not receive the trust of the public. The police officers should not get the trust of the public at all, because they've shown themselves not to deserve the trust of the public. They don't even deserve any funds to go to them. There should be a citizens police where, you know, everybody should serve, as far as those who are qualified. And it shouldn't be a bunch of white males in a room deciding who's going to be a police officer. No. If a town or a city is predominantly, or, you know, black or whatever, it should be the mass majority of police officers in that city should be black. They should be so-called black. Not saying that, you know, it's going to be much better, but see, at least you will remove the racial element if it's black people doing it to other black people or whatever, at least you'll remove the racial element. Nobody can call racism. There needs to be more black police officers or law enforcement officers, real law enforcement officers that are looked over by the people, that are decided on by the people, that we get to see their record, what they got, that we get to view their record. They should be under observation. We should be able to view their records. We should be able to see if they have any infractions, and we should decide whether they get fired. Not some private police or private police board or whatever the case may be. No, that should not be, because they're just going to put these people back in the street. They don't really want to fire these people. They're just going to put these people back in the street. And like I said, we know it's a bunch of racists in the police department, a bunch of white racists, a bunch of Latino racists. We know it's a bunch of racists, a bunch of Asian racists in the police departments that target so-called black people. But like I said, and Latinos sometimes too, but mostly black. But it's going to come a time where people are going to push back. And I'm saying this because people are going to fear for their life. Nobody's going to go and get handcuffed if they know they might not make it to the jail, or that they might get shot, or they might get beat up and stuff like that. Not to mention the fact that it's causing the cities a whole lot of lawsuit money. A lot of lawsuits are being paid out. Them guys that were beaten and shot, they're going to get a big lawsuit. You see, the city's got to pay out these lawsuits because they keep hiring these idiots. They keep hiring these racist idiots to put on badges and carry guns, and they're dangerous to everybody. And people are going to start seeing them that way. Now, back to the thing what I was saying. Now, this goes back to what I'm saying about the incident at the harbor. People are not used to seeing black people stick together and get each other's back and stand up for what's right. And they did stand up for what's right. And black people need to make that a trend. Like I said, I'm not saying getting involved in all aspects when you see the police up here frisking or grabbing up a so-called black person, because sometimes a lot of these so-called black people need to be handcuffed. They need to be put in jail and whatnot. So we shouldn't go around trying to Black people shouldn't go around trying to, get involved in everything when it comes to the police and what's going on a lot of times. But what I will say is, just like at the Harbor thing like that, Black people should definitely get involved in that. And again, it's also a microcosm of what you're seeing happen in this country, because a lot of white racists are seeing this and they're saying that Black people are not scared no more. They're not scared, because the threat was always law enforcement. We're going to lock you up. We're going to kill you. We're going to disgrace and destroy your family if you fight back. You know what I'm saying? If you stand up and, you defend yourself, like I said, against that attack, they immediately came and arrested the Black people for fighting. They didn't arrest the white people. They immediately came and arrested the Black people. So that lets you know law enforcement is always on their side. Law enforcement is on the side of the Caucasians, the Europeans, because they are the immigrants. Like I told you before, the United States is for immigrants. It's not for the indigenous Americans. Even though the indigenous Americans, meaning so-called Black people, the indigenous Americans were here before everybody, and we are the only real indigenous people of this land. Not nobody else, not the Caucasians, not the Asians, not the Mongoloid Indians. These people all came from elsewhere. They still set this society up to be for them. They still set this society up to be for them, this United States and whatnot. So they will always go against the indigenous people. I mean, us, the so-called Black people, the ones they want to wipe out and take our heritage and our identity. But because the numbers of Caucasians is dwindling and the numbers of so-called Black people are rising, this was a chance to show in a way that a collective group of people who for a long time had this individual mindset where 9 times out of 10 wouldn't come to each other's aid, are now starting to do that, because that's a sign that people are tired. People are tired, and people are very hypersensitive to the environment and what's going on here as far as the racial climate. People are very much on edge, and it's only going to get worse. But they got a chance to see that it's a bunch of Black people joining in, because you usually used to seeing a whole bunch of white people attack 1 or 2 Black people and beat on them and jump them and do all this other stuff. Well, now they got to see that in reverse. So that, puts a lot of people on alert, a lot of racist Caucasians. I'm not saying all, but it puts a lot of racist Caucasians on alert, because you got some Caucasian people who, saw that those people got what they deserved. And then you got the racists who like, oh, they saw was a white person getting beat up. They don't care about what they did to get their ass whooped. They care the fact they got beat up by so-called Black people. And like I said, never stop defending yourself against anybody. Never stop defending yourself against anybody. It is your right as men, as women, it is your natural right as men and women to defend yourself against anybody who's trying to harm you or take your life. They want so-called Black people to sit on their hands in this country and not defend themselves. Let the police abuse you. Let some random white person abuse you. You fight back. The police come and lock you up. The white person hits you or do something, you don't pull a pistol on you, or they don't want to press. They don't want to do nothing to them. But if you do it, they want to come lock you up. So you're starting to see a very, very, very clear line of bias here in the site. It was always here, but it's becoming more and more clear. And what's going to happen is people are going to get tired. People are going to get fed up. People are going to say the hell with this, and they're going to start going at the police. I'm telling you what's going to happen, people. And I'm not saying, I want it to happen, but y'all doing it to yourselves. I have nothing to do with that. People are going to start going at the police, white ones in particular, Latino ones in particular, because when you got a whole bunch of people who are tired and they are unseen, but yet they see you. They see all of you. They outnumber you. You better be careful. Be very careful, because your badge and gun won't save you. These are all material things, and they won't save you. The police, your backup, your unions won't save you. They won't save you. When you got people who you push up against the wall and you force them to fight, they're going to fight. They're going to come out and they're going to wreak havoc, man, on you on your livelihood, on your family. They're gonna tear a chunk out of you. Even if you kill them, they don't care about dying. They're gonna take a chunk out of you. They're gonna make you sacrifice your life. A lot of your lives are gonna get lost because of your BS, man. Because of your BS, because of your animalistic behavior. Animals have to be checked in the world of civilized people. Animals have to be checked, and y'all are the last group of animals that are going to get checked. So that brings me to the whole thing of systematic. Black people don't think systematically. Black people don't think collectively, which is what their problem is here in society. Black people don't think systematically or collectively, which is why they're always being dominated by Caucasians and everybody else. One thing you could give Caucasians credit for, and what they did very quickly when they came into America, was that they became a collective, systematic unit of people, meaning that they immediately started coming together, because the history of white people in this country is, at one point in time, there was no white people here, meaning that the term white was created in the 1600s. The term white was created in the 1600s because you had a bunch of wealthy Europeans who were here in America who were setting up plantations and, setting up sugar, tobacco plantations. They were just coming over here from Europe, and they were getting land from the colonists. They already started divvying up the damn land like this day land. It was already people here on the land. But see, the people on the land, meaning us, the indigenous people, we were living on the land. We were, growing on the land, harvesting on the land. We are the real American Indians. Everybody should know this by now. We the real American Indians. We didn't come from Africa. We was always here. They were harvesting on the land, growing on the land, living on the land. And then these Europeans came here, these colonists, and they started gradually taking the land from the people because they were able to systematically set up a system of politics, of courts and judges and whatnot, and law and things like that. And now, originally, that was supposed to be to govern them. But then they started, then the plan was to just take over all of it. Because it was a time where they was like, okay, we're just going to govern our people. We're not going to bother the indigenous Indians or the indigenous people here, the indigenous Americans. We're going to just set up all the little English colonies and all the little European colonies. But they had a much bigger plan, which was to take it all and even take it from the indigenous people, which they did. They took land from us and threw us into slavery or indentured servitude. And, everything was taken from us, and they still doing that to this day. Department of Agriculture they personally, as a government agency, took millions of acres from black farmers and put them in the hands of white people. The Indian Removal Act was really removing us off the land and taking it and giving it to white people. The Trail of Tears, the Indian Removal Act, that was land being taken from black people, not from these Mongoloid Indians, not from them. They always lived on the outskirts and on the plains, and they were always, basically setting up teepees and things like that. They were never building homes and farming land and things like that because, like I told you, they're not really native to this land or indigenous to this land. I'm talking about the so-called Mongoloid Indians who look Asian, who y'all believe these are the real Indians, and they're not. They just use them to replace us, the real indigenous people. The real indigenous people are still prominent and still seen as the main people in the society today. They're still seen as that. That's why our music, our culture, and everything else influences not just America, but the world. Because we are the indigenous Americans. We are the real Americans here, so-called black people, the only real Americans here in this country, by birth, by not from Africa, born here, come from South Central America. We dominate over there in South Central America as the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan. Got plenty of proof that these are the American indigenous people. The Mongoloids came. They were the first immigrants that came here, the so-called Mongoloid Indians who crossed the Bering Strait into America were the first immigrants here. You see, they're not the indigenous people to this land. But these people were able to come here, the so-called white man was able to come here, and they systematically and collectively started to set up this structure here that still stands today. And black people are always talking about the system of white supremacy. The system, or it's the system, the system, the system. Y'all could have built the same system. Black people could have built the same system here. They could have built the same system of checks and balances. In fact, y'all pretty much had the system built. Y'all just didn't unify the system or, put the system in effect where y'all was all working together. Because the Confederation that the Caucasians used, because they got that from the indigenous people, us. We had a confederation of indigenous tribes that was working together throughout the United States, but they just wasn't together. They just wasn't together. The white man just took that as an opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to come together and work together collectively and systematically to take hold of this thing. Black people can't do that. Black people don't think like that mentally. Black people, this is what keeps them under Caucasian people. This is what keeps them as subservient and submissive to white people, because wherever white people go, they're going to make sure they set up some sort of system. They're going to set up some sort of collective system that's going to start with, structuring and getting them in order. And then they're going to push that system out to the world, which is what they did. And that's why they're in charge of everything, pretty much from business to religion, business, the distribution of resources, food, everything, because they put a system together to distribute that throughout the world. And our people should have been the first ones doing that. But shit, when you're dealing with black people, they can't even get together for something small. They can't even be in a community, and they claim to be of a community. Hold on a second. They can't be in a community. That's my daughter. They can't be in a community and systematically work together within a community. Black people can't even do that. That's why so many people were blown away when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad set up the Nation of Islam and whatnot. I always give the Honorable Elijah Muhammad credit for that, and not so much Father, because he was more like the messenger. And Elijah Muhammad was, as you say, the God, the Lord in person, who put it all together, and ran it for years. But my thing is, people were so surprised that groups like the Nation of Islam and how systematically and collectively they work together as men and as women to produce what they produced. You don't really have that with so-called black people. Black people want to be individuals. They want to do their own thing. And they fail as individuals when they could succeed as a collective. A systematic collection of people working together in unison to look out for, take care of, for, and by each other. Like, for example, if our people were working systematically together, we ain't gonna all like each other and things like that. It's about likes and dislikes, because that's relative. If our people was working together systematically, we wouldn't need no loans. We wouldn't need no reparations. We wouldn't need none of that. We wouldn't need none of it. We would be loaning up. We'd have our own banks loaning each other money, putting money in the banks, loaning each other money for houses, loaning each other money for houses, loaning each other money for business and whatnot. Reputable people, not Negroes, not niggas. Reputable bronze people, people who are sincere, who serious people who we can judge. We could be giving them money and empowering them. We could be empowering our own people if we were to work collectively, if we were to work systematically in doing so. But because black people would rather work as individuals and fail as individuals, this is why they got to be asking for reparations. And I get it. Reparations is owed to so-called black people. Reparations is owed to our people, the American indigenous people, not no African slaves. Reparations is owed to the American indigenous people who had they not been working to, on these plantations and things like that, and harvesting and growing on the land, there'd be no American economy. There'd be no United States economy. So slave labor built up this country. And so-called black people, the American indigenous people, have not been compensated for that. I was watching something on this guy, Math Hoffa. This guy, Math Hoffa, he does my opinion, my expert opinion, I think it's called. He has a show. The guy's show is pretty good. He does an interview podcast. The guy, Math Hoffa, who is a battle rapper. He was a battle rapper, and then he started doing the podcast, and he's pretty much doing the podcast now. He must have some real major money behind him, because he had Robert Kennedy on there. Robert Kennedy, who is the son of Robert Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1968 or 69, I'm thinking about 69. He was assassinated the same time around which Martin Luther King was assassinated in 68. And of course, his uncle, John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in 1963. A lot of them Kennedys got a lot of bad juju going them. A lot of the aura is just bad with them. The Kennedys, they always going through some stuff. But anyway, they're a very wealthy family here in America, and they don't like to admit that their family made their money off alcohol, because allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly, Joe Kennedy, the patriarch of that family, was a bootlegger, an Irish bootlegger, right? And they try to say, oh, that's not true, but okay, whatever. It ain't true. Wink, wink. It ain't true. But because they know if it is true, supposedly they're supposed to take all their family money from them, because, you know, if you get money by ill-gotten gains or committed crimes to get money, then they're supposed to strip your family of the money. They're supposed to take everything away from you. That's what they do with black people. You see, but everybody else, for a lot of people, they get to keep their money. The mafia and all, they let a lot of them guys keep their assets, and these guys are millionaires, and they know damn well they was part of an ongoing criminal enterprise to get what they got, but yet these people keep their money. They let them keep their money. If they even believe black people had anything to do with any criminal activity, they going through your books, they investigating you, they gonna seize control of your assets until they figure this thing out. But when it comes to white people, they leave your stuff alone. You innocent till proven guilty, if they even charge you with anything. But when you got money as a so-called black person, you're guilty, and you're gonna have to prove where you got that from. Is this a drug deal? What y'all doing? You got to prove that. But that only happens because our people don't think collectively. We don't work together, because had we been working together systematically, we wouldn't have to go into them for no money. We wouldn't have to go to them for no reparations and whatnot. We would already be doing. We wouldn't have to go to them to take care of the colleges and the learning institutions for our children. Black people are in the trouble they're in this society because they keep depending on Caucasians all the time. That's why they're looking for them to do something. They're looking for them to be the answer to their problem, when we are the only answer to our problem. We are. Those of you like the Underlord shirts from my company, Underlord. I keep saying, you know, we're going to put the link up, but we're redoing the site right now. So every shirt that I've shown from our Underlord company will be on the site, revamped. We're working on that right now. This is from my company, Unlimited Epics, our character Sheaf Fly. We got these shirts available right now. So those who want to place an order, again, my wives are working on the link and whatnot. So bear with me on that. We're going to have a lot of merchandise and whatnot, but go check out our site, unlimitedepics.com. Go to unlimitedepics.com, and you can purchase all the Unlimited Epics episodes, and, you know, all the epics and whatnot, back issues and things like that. You can purchase that, and you can purchase some of the merchandise up there. Some of the merchandise is up, but more merchandise is coming up. But anyway, let me see. So we've already shown that black people don't know how to think systematically. And this is the problem with them. Because when it comes to other people, especially white people, like, let me get back to what I was saying about that. White people, or that term white people, was created in the 1600s by wealthy Caucasian European businessmen who had stakes in America, who had land in America, who had plantations in America early. And what they realized was that, you know, they can count. They can, you know, they good business people are good at numbers. They're good at counting. They looked at themselves, and they looked at the people that were around them. You still had the indigenous people who had their land. Nobody, because again, white people didn't have their numbers up yet like that to come take the land from our people. But for the longest time, the indigenous people had their land. They had all of this and whatnot. And the Caucasians weren't a major force. They didn't become a major force in America until about the 1800s. They didn't really become a major force in this country and really start passing laws and things like taking land from people until the 1800s. All that stuff in the 1600s and 1700s, don't believe none of that stuff. Most of that stuff is that when they talk black people in slavery, that most that's indentured servitude stuff. Because again, you had a lot of these people who once became slaves, those were prisoners of war. A lot of times those were indigenous tribes fighting against Caucasians for their land. Sometimes they would like slaughter the Caucasian immigrants, or the Caucasian immigrants would slaughter the indigenous bronze people, copper colored people, and they would take their families and enslave them, right? But like I said, they leave that history out. The Caucasians who rewrite the history books, they didn't really come into, you know, their strong hold until the 1800s. Prior to that time, they had to get their numbers up because the wealthy Caucasians here in this country in the 1600s, they saw that they had no real backup. In other words, if the indigenous people, who outnumbered them, if the indigenous people decided, and you had a bunch of, white, it wasn't even a lot of them here at the time. You had some white indentured servants who had no wealth, no nothing, So they start thinking, look, damn, we ain't got no backup. If these people decide to take on land, if they decide to, to push us off of here, ain't nothing we could do about it. So they had to create something called white people. In other words, they took all European people that were there and said, hey, listen, we got to stick together against these indigenous savages, these black people, these which became black people. We got to stick together against these Negroes, these niggers and whatnot, which became these niggardly people, which became niggas. We got to stick together against them, or they're going to, threaten our livelihood. That's when the wealthy Caucasians, rich Caucasians, they get the low grade poor Caucasians to get on their side when they start playing the race card. Nobody plays the race card like the wealthy Caucasians. They always accuse black people of playing the race card, but your wealthy white people, they played the race card from this time they got in this country. They did it to rally poor white trash, right? They did it to rally together poor white trash, to put them in positions of power. A lot of these Caucasians who you see are senators and congressmen and police officers and all this other stuff, they were put in those positions, systematically by wealthy Caucasian elites who wanted to use them as their stormtroopers, wanted to use them as their policy enforcers. So this is why they had to create a race called white people. They took, because before that, Europeans, they was always fighting against each other. They were very tribal. Your Caucasians in Europe, they were very tribal. They was fighting against each other. The English against the Irish, the Italians against the Sicilians. Everybody hated the Germans. The Germans hated everybody. So this was all going on even before Hitler. All this was going on. There was always strife in Europe in the 12th and 11th century. They wasn't together. It wasn't until they came into America in the 1600s, they started coming here. That's when they had to form this thing, white people, to give them numbers, to give them backup, to give them a storm protection on. And of course, the poor white trash and all of them coming from nothing, they jumped right into that. The poor white trash. Most of these people that came here into America were criminals. There were a lot of Caucasian white criminals that came from Europe. With England emptied out the jail. So they even said in their law, they emptied out their jail cells. They wanted to get rid of all the criminals that were in jail in Europe. So they sent them over here into America, put them on a boat, sent them here into America. So a lot of your politicians, your white politicians, they're not going to tell you that a lot of their family was part of that white trash that was let out of Europe and was sent over here into America. And they are the worst thing that ever happened. These people's plague and invasion was the worst thing that ever happened to America. And it was a good thing as well, because we got to learn the systematic governing of things. If one thing we learned from the invasion of these Caucasian Europeans into our homeland, America, I'm talking about us indigenous bronze copper colored people. Forget all that black crap. We're not black. There's no such thing as a black people. That's something they created as well. You see, all this is the creations of wealthy Caucasians. Okay? Judeo-Christian, wealthy Caucasians and whatnot who hide up under that moniker of Judeo-Christian, right, in this country. This was black and white was their creation. White would be who would basically, they would use to control the landscape of America through policies, politics, through the system that was set up here, through the governmental system that was set up here in the United States. Okay, now the fact that they even formed something called the United States, that was basically them saying that we as the United States are pledging to collectively work systematically in controlling this land, ruling this land, and being the governors over this land and over the people. That's everybody. They're saying that by saying we are a United States, and that's the term, united we stand, divided we fall. Because they know as soon as they divide and they start acting like black people, you know, being individuals, they rulership is over with. The only reason white people are able to rule in this country or be in charge in this country is because they work systematically to do so. They work collectively night and day to do so. And again, it ain't about whether they like each other or dislike each other. It's like, look, we white, we got to be together. Well, you know, it don't matter. All that European stuff don't matter no more. That's why if you notice, very rarely will you see a white person here in America be able to tell you about their European heritage. Very rarely will they do that. They'll say, oh, I think my family's from Russia, or I think my family's from Germany, or I think my family's from Scotland. That's way back. But my family's Native American. They got Native American. They always say that. Now that's the real go-to thing for a lot of white people. Listen, y'all don't got no Native American, and even that Native American thing is not indigenous. They're very careful to say that they are Native American, because we know, those of us who are studying this indigenous thing, who have come across the indigenous knowledge of who we are, we know that Native is a term that the Caucasians use, the European Caucasians, to try to shoehorn their way into America and act as though they are real Americans when they are not. It clearly tells you on the Merriam-Webster definition of an American who the first Americans, who the original Americans are, and that's us. We are the original Americans, and they came as Europeans and they took on the name America, which is why it baffles me. And by them taking on the word American and taking on America and just totally erasing their European heritage, acting like they didn't come from Europe, that they was always here, they pushed us toward Africa. And we already know that was in reverse. We know that they didn't bring no black people from Africa. They took American indigenous people to Africa from the West Indies. They took them to America. They took them to Africa, to the West Indies, and up and down North America. They took people and took them into Africa to work. That's why, if you notice, if you look at the Nigerians and you look at a lot of people in Africa, they look like American black people. They look just like American so-called black people, because the so-called Africans always have a certain look to them. The real Africans have a look to them. You know an African versus an American. You know the difference between an African and American. The Africans have that dark, real dark, dingy skin. I'm talking the real African, not you people who are really American who believe you African. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of your families were taken over into Africa and reclassified as African. They took a whole lot of American indigenous people into Africa. You can look that up. That's a fact. They took a lot of more people into Africa. That's why a lot of African in these African countries, a lot of the Africans look like the American indigenous people. Okay? Because the white men want to push this lie that just because we got dark skin, we all come from Africa. We all come from Africa because we got dark skin, which is a load of nonsense. And the sad thing about it is, a lot of you pro-black pan-Africanists, you buy into this foolishness. You'll sit up here and lie and try to be obstacles in the way of the truth. But we trying to find out about our American indigenous heritage. You'll sit up here because you want to embrace Africa and the slave ships and believe that you came here on slave ships. You want to believe that foolishness. So be it. That's fine. You pan-Africanists, you want to believe that. That's fine. But we as the American indigenous people, the American indigenous, we're not buying into that, because we're taking a pledge as the American indigenous people to collectively work together, to come together as a people. We're taking a pledge to do that in the Republic of America, because we are the first and only real Americans here. We are the first and only real American indigenous people here. This is our land. And so for you people to sit up here and tell me, oh, I'm going to go to Africa, I'm going to Mother Africa, you sound foolish. A lot of them people in Africa who over there, the real Africans, they don't want you over there. They don't see you so-called American black people who the white man lied to and told y'all came from Africa, or y'all bought into the lie, those Africans over there, they don't see you as they people. They don't. And they'll tell you in the West Africa and whatnot that they never heard of no slave trade. They never heard of that. That's not part of their history, because that's a lie. That's a lie that was created here in this country, just like the lie of a so-called white people. Again, that was a makeshift creation to bring together Europeans under the banner of white so that they can control the land of the indigenous people. And it has been that way ever since. And the sad thing is, you so-called black people, you out here as individuals, you out here just being into your black selves and whatnot. You are nothing but enemies of the people who are trying to come together collectively to raise our intelligence, to raise our vibration, to come together as the real American indigenous people to take our rightful place in this land as the indigenous people. They've been trying to erase us, and they still trying to erase our people. You people better be careful when you notice it. And also, if you notice on that tape where the woman got punched in her face for holding the baby, that was in California. The damn race soldiers out there, a bunch of Latino race soldiers, right? They doing the job of the white man. A bunch of Latino. You gonna punch a woman in her face holding a baby? You can't never justify that. There's no justification. And then in Kenosha, Wisconsin, I think it's Wisconsin, they tackled some black dude holding his baby, and the baby hit his head. They trying to tackle him. They don't let him pass the baby off or nothing like that. So they letting you know these animals are going to start eventually shooting your children. They're going to start shooting your children, knocking down your children, hurting your children. They don't care about your babies. They don't care about you. And this government supports that. This government is only tolerating you so-called black people. You don't know when this government is just tolerating you, and the reason why they're tolerating you is because you got a lot of numbers. But they've been trying to decimate your numbers for the last 60 or 70 years or plus. That's why they're pushing right now a lot of this homosexual LGBT nonsense with black men, so-called black men, so that the black men don't mass produce, you don't procreate. You see? And if you do procreate, that you might well not procreate, because what kind of son you going to raise if you a sodomite? What kind of son is a sodomite going to raise, or a sodomitis? That's why they pushing your women to either be lesbians or be with the Caucasian, with white males. So because then you know the offspring of that, they're not going to be black. They're going to be what their father is. That's why they're pushing that mindset to our people. That's a way to destroy it. Just like the Tuskegee experiment, just like the jab, just like Margaret Sanger with her Planned Parenthood. All this was aimed at attacking and destroying the indigenous peoples of America, so-called black people, the copper-colored races. That's all this is about. And you so-called pan-Africanists, you are playing into the hands of these people. You are the biggest enemies of our people, right alongside the so-called white men. You pan-Africanists, you pro-blacks. You are the biggest threat to our people, because anyone that's ready to sit up here and lie to our people at the behest of our enemies, anyone who's willing to sit up here and tell this lie that we come from Africa, you using these lies like Umar Johnson, Africa, and all this other nonsense you making up. Look, man, just because you could sound convincing and you do say some good things, Umar Johnson, that makes sense, but on this African thing, you way off, and you know you off. Just like Dr. James Small and all them other people, y'all know y'all off. You know we not African, man. Y'all sitting up here telling these lies. And you doing this because, you know, the white man got some nigger pennies for you, got some crumbs off the table to give y'all. And y'all willing to take the nigger pennies, the crumbs off the table from the so-called white man, because all y'all, again, because you don't think systematically, because you don't really think about your people, you're willing to take a check from the so-called white man to lie to your people, to mislead your people. You see, you're willing to do that. Just like them rapping guys was out here rapping, telling people to go out and get the damn jab. Y'all are a bunch of traitors, man. Y'all a bunch of treacherous traitors. You so-called pan-Africanists, you rappers, you dregs, if you man, you Negroes that don't know how to think systematically. Y'all a bunch of traitors, man. Because anybody who can't think systematically and lock in with their people for the betterment and the evolution of their people, you are enemy to our people. Just like the damn drug dealers are enemies to our people, the gang bangers are enemies to our people, because they are against the evolution of our people. They are against the betterment of our people. They are the ones, just like in that movie, they cloned Tyrone, you know, which was a pretty good movie. I mean, I mean, I get it. They was trying to be deep and heavy about it, about the cloning of these low-grade Negroes, the cloning of these low-grade Negroes in the hood that they constantly putting out to keep the hood, you know, keep the so-called hood from becoming a community. These low-grade Negroes. Now, they had them in a laboratory cloning people and stuff like that and doing all this. But let's just be real about what it really is, because that's just symbolic of people being basically, in other words, how they're cloning people is through music, meaning that they're producing a mentality, a low-grade mentality in the people. That's really what they mean when they're saying they're creating these type of low-level people. They're not in some lab doing it. They don't got to do that. All they got to do is put out music, right? Trap music, drill music, whatever, garbage music. Put out some damn stupid movies and things like that, some stupid music. Basically things that are used to program the people. That's what they're good at doing, systematically. They're good at systematically working to destroy a people. And that's what they've been doing with our people. And they still on their job to systematically destroy our people. They're working to systematically destroy us because we don't think systematically. We think individually. And again, that fight at the harbor in Alabama was a sign of a people working together and thinking collectively. That shocked the hell out of a lot of people, especially white people. You niggas actually got together and did the right thing to protect yourselves? How dare you do that? And a lot of Sambos and Coons was out here like, damn, they was like, yeah. You know, I'm like, why are y'all sitting up here being surprised at something that's supposed to naturally happen? You're supposed to naturally do that. Whenever you see one of your own people in trouble and going through, you know, unjustly, you're supposed to, and they being attacked and whatnot, you're supposed to do something about that. You're supposed to do something about that. You see? Like, you give people, now let me say you something. If you get a racist cop who's beating on somebody after they uncomplied, and you got a man and a woman there, they beating on somebody after they uncomplied, and you could take somebody's life or harm somebody seriously, and you tasing people and you beating on people. So if you're breaking the law and you're tasing and beating on people and you acting like a savage and a wild animal, like a lot of these police officers, these Caucasian police officers do, they start acting like they're channeling animal side. They start acting like savages and tasing people and beating people, turning off their damn body camera. So now, if somebody overpowers them and take their gun and shoot them, you're going to then lock those people up? That's my question. You're going to then lock up the people if the police are abusing them, breaking the law, cutting off their body cam, they're not conducting the arrest, person complying, and this person is still trying to shoot you with a taser, talking crazy to you, and lost their damn mind or whatever case may be, and this person defends themselves like they supposed to, and they take the cop gun and shoot them, you going to say that person's wrong? See, the beast they'll say that person is wrong. And that's, like I said, that's what's going to start happening, because nobody's going to keep taking that. They're going to start overpowering and fighting back. That's why the police show up. They show up on one person, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, because they cowards, a lot of them. They got to show up in packs like a bunch of wild animals. And again, I'm going to tell you something. I'm blaming you so-called black people for this too. Because I told you before, you so-called black men, you need to be joining these police departments in droves. If you don't got no records and whatnot, you so-called black people need to be showing. You black men need to be showing up in droves. In droves. I'm talking about in the hundreds. Joining the police department, because if you don't like police brutality, then goddamn it, you need to be getting in this police department and say, you know what, we're going to make a difference here, and make the government, make the Justice Department, make these towns tell you, no, we're not hiring, and then make them explain, and then make it public to let them know, no, what it really is, we want to keep a system of white supremacy, and we want these police to abuse you niggas. Just come out and say it. Make them say it. Make them say it. We're just here to destroy you. We're here to lock you up. We're not here to really lock up white people, because their numbers are dwindling. So, of course, they don't really want to lock them up. They want to lock you up because your numbers are increasing. They want to lock you up, stop you in any way, shape, or form from mass producing, because then that means this country may fall back into your hands again. This might be a bad lesson that black people need to learn. And you learn it the hard way. Let me go on. 1 second. Get up and do this because I don't want to lose my juice on the computer. Bear with me a second, people. Bear with me. Because what do you do when you got, it's one thing to jump on and fight a white person back, but then when they go and join the police force, that's what a lot of these cowards do. They join the police force just so that they can abuse people. They don't join the police force to protect and serve or uphold the law, because again, they don't even know the damn law. They go out there and they just hoping to run into a black person. They hoping to run into who they can get away with abusing. You see, the body cameras, you got these people, they don't even know how to do that right. They so corrupt. They letting these people to turn off their body cameras, and the body cameras is really supposed to be for their protection. It ain't even for the people's protection. It's supposed to be for their protection, because if there's no body cameras, if there's no radios and y'all doing stuff and people see y'all, they know it's no body cameras, they know it's no radios, and they know you gonna pull them over, and they're like, y'all coming crazy. People gonna start pulling off. It's gonna be shootouts. People gonna do anything they're gonna do to get away, and that means even taking your lives. So it would behoove these law enforcement to follow some kind of protocol or law and not trying to abuse the people, because it's gonna come back to you, and it's gonna come back to you in droves. I'm predicting this. There's gonna be widespread chaos and confusion. People are gonna start attacking the police. They're going to start calling up and ambushing the police. White, black, and people going to start. It's going to be an anti-hate police thing here in this country, because y'all doing it to yourself. You hiring the wrong people. And the police should start pushing these people out the door, because they're going to make your jobs unsafe. I don't know if y'all think you're Superman because you got a badge and a gun and some bulletproof vests and y'all got backup. That don't mean shit, man. That don't mean anything. You're not bulletproof. I don't care how much stuff you got on. You're not bulletproof. You're not invincible. You can die too. And when people start to be like, they don't care if they live or die, but they're going to get you, that's going to be a very bad day for y'all. Y'all going to wish y'all could go back to that and restore law and order. You're not going to be able to fix that. Anyway, let me go on to the next one. Got a few topics up here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, 1 second. I want to speak back again on this God and Jesus. God and Jesus symbols of white supremacy that black people worship and follow. Of course they do. You got the Holy Trinity. You got God, who is white, according to them, God, white Jesus, and of course George Washington. Why George Washington? Because his face is on the dollar bill. That's the real Trinity. That's the Holy Trinity of black people. White God, white Jesus, or, white God, white Jesus, and George Washington, or any assorted damn cracker, some beast, any assorted cracker who just on a damn dollar bill. That's the Holy Trinity of the black people. You see these niggas putting damn white Jesus I don't know what kind of mindset you got to be in to tattoo the image. You a so-called black man, a bronze copper colored man. I don't know what kind of mindset you got where you would tattoo the image of another man or male on your arm or on your chest, a Caucasian Jesus. And you know who's to blame for a lot of that? Kanye West. Kanye, as I call him, Kanye West, pushing that white Jesus and Jesus walks, pushing that Caucasian Jesus, which he was doing at the behest of his white superiors. This is why Kanye got so much money, because he might well have been a rapping minister. He was doing the job that the Caucasians signed up the black reverends and ministers for, which I'm about to get into that in the next thing I'm about to say. A lot of these preachers, reverends, imams, and all these religious people, they're really nothing but entertainers, man. They're nothing but entertainers for the so-called white man. You see, you go to the church, you go to the mosque, whatever. These people putting on the show, man, talking about God, some unseen God, some Jesus. They talking about that, trying to get you to believe in that, basically trying to get you to give your imagination to them. Because let me tell you something, belief, which is the foundation in which religion is based on, is also the foundation in which science is really based on. And why I say science and religion are based on belief, because the white man set up on that, because realistically, he knows he can't prove none of that stuff. He can't prove that there's a white God in the sky sitting on a damn cloud with white Jesus on his side. That's all cap. That's all stories. That's all belief. Just like he can't prove a lot of this stuff he says scientifically. You only think that he can because he'll write a book or he'll give a lecture and nobody will ever question them as to how they know that all is to be true. And how can I go out and do what you did scientifically to get the answers you got? And how did you know to perform these kind of scientific experiments to get the answer? That's what I want to know. See, these are the questions I would ask these people. Same way I would ask the religious people, well, how you know God is real, this, that, the third. I'm not saying there's no higher power. Of course there is, because you see too much structure and order. That's the logical answer to saying that there's a most high power, a Lord, a supreme ruler, and that they are beings working in unison, obviously, with the supreme ruler, because there's too much structure and order and on the planet for there not to be nobody to put that together. So I'm taking it from a logical standpoint. You people that believe, you don't do that, because the reverend and the minister and the imams and all the religious people, the black reverends, ministers and all them, they were meant to be entertainment. They were not meant to be taken seriously. They were meant to be entertainment that was pushed out by the so-called white men to entertain black people, to keep niggas calm, especially on the plantation. Keep niggas calm on the plantation. Keep them from rebelling. Let them. Y'all can have Sunday off for church. You ain't got to work. You know what I'm saying? But you got to get back in the fields Monday morning all the way to Saturday at night. You got to keep picking that cotton and doing this, that, and the third. But you can have Sunday off to go and listen to the Reverend sit here and entertain you Negroes and get you to believe in what he's saying. Because again, belief is what they use in religion, in science, and in entertainment. When you go watch a movie, when you go watch a play or whatever production they push to you, they're basically trying to get you to give over your imagination to them, so that you could believe in what they're selling you or what they're pushing to you, so you can actually believe that this is a real scenario, whether you watching a TV show, a TV program, a movie, that this is a real scenario you watching. You're supposed to believe that this is a real scenario. So belief is the foundation of all these things: entertainment, religion, business, science. Everything based in this society that the white man has is based in belief. It's not based in fact, logic, and rationale. That's something that we have to discover on our own, and we have discovered it, which puts us heads and shoulders above the mass majority of our people, because we're not working off of belief. I don't work off belief. I work off of logical and rational thinking. And that's what I'm raising my people to do. Y'all, those are people who are thinking like that as those bright Americans, those logical and rational people of the next. You should join the Republic of America, ROA, Republic of America, ROA Worldwide. Go to ROA Worldwide and join the Republic of America if you know that you are American indigenous, that you are of the indigenous bloodline, American indigenous bloodline. You should join the Republic of America. We out here looking for the bright Americans, the bright ones of our people, or as we say, the alt-bright. We don't say the alt-right, we say the alt-bright. You see, those who interested in leaving the black race behind. Because see, the so-called black race, they died in their tracks. They still can't get over the fact, like I said in the earlier videos, they can't even get over the fact that their skin is not black. They minds is blown over something that I told you a long time. These are nothing but classifications from Europeans. The same people that thought up white is the same people that made up black. And y'all sitting up here upholding this nonsense, unfortunately. Yeah. So these people use these beliefs, and white Jesus, all that was put together to basically install white supremacy. The only reason they taught our people's religion is to install white supremacy in your mind. They didn't teach you about God and Jesus to give you some divine understanding and put you on a higher level. No, they taught you religion in this country. It's Christianity in this country, just like the Arabs taught Islam, so that you would put them on a pedestal. You would put their gods and their Jesuses and all their belief nonsense on the pedestal, and then thus put them on the pedestal. That's why you were really taught religion in this country. Shout out to you black Christians, you believers. Shout out to you black Muslims, you believers. Shout out to you Israelites, because y'all all Christians, man. Y'all stay talking about Christ. Let me see. Why will the beast always turn his back on sellouts? Or you sell out black people who are sitting up here lying to our people, because you got a whole lot of sellouts. You got a whole lot of sellouts. Sellouts amongst black people are common. That's common. You know, they will sell out to Caucasians for a check. They will lie to our people about who we are as a people, right? People like your Umar Johnson. They'll sit up here and tell our people we African, we came from Africa and stuff like that. But nobody ever presses him about the American indigenous stuff. He has to stick with the African story because he's getting a check for that. He's getting paid for that. Who you think is back in his Pan-African school? It ain't y'all no more, because y'all done figured out that, you know, this nigga ain't trying to build this for real. So he's going to get help from the Caucasian. They're going to give him help to finish his school, because, again, above everything, the white man wants to keep this belief going, this lie going, because in the word belief, you see the word lie. He wants to keep this lie going that we came from Africa on slave ships, that they brought us in chains like sardines, and they keep always going back to transatlantic slave ships. My question is this, like I said before, why do they only talk about the transatlantic slave ship trade? They said they brought millions of people over here. What about any other ships that came in? What happened to all these ships? Which there were no ships, there were boats, but what happened to all that? You got people who are willing to sell the soap, as they say, push the lie for the so-called white man, because they're pushing belief. Again, the white man is a hope dealer. He's a hope dealer, and hope is dealing with belief, aka lies. They're not only dope dealers, drug dealers, they hope dealers, hope and dope dealers. Like I said, you got a lot of so-called black people who have no problem selling our people out, lying to our people. You see, these people is pushing this black Pan-African studies. These people is pushing this Pan-Africanism, this kente cloth nonsense, this pro-black nonsense when our skin is not black, this whatever, all this black garbage. Anybody that's telling us that our people are black today, I'm telling you, anyone who is still preaching this lie about black skin and our people are black people and that whatever black that you're using, don't listen to these people, man. These people are suspected sellouts, man. These people should be seen as suspected sellouts, because what is teaching our people that they black? How is that going to help us? How is that going to help us? If anything, teaching our people that they black is hurting us. Teaching our people that we are black people has been hurting us. Why has it been hurting us? Because we don't know whenever you don't know the truth about who you really are, it's going to eventually hurt you. It's going to have a negative effect on you. You see? They're not teaching that our people are really the American indigenous people, or the American indigenous, the American Indian. They're not teaching that, but that's the reality of who we really are. You see, we could have went a lot further as people with that, knowing that knowledge of who we are as the American indigenous people, as the real Americans. We could have went a lot further with that as a community, a real community, an American community. Because when you see these little hoods and ghettos and stuff, and you see black people that is the American community. Same way you got the Italian community, the Jewish community, the Irish community, the Asian community. There's an American community. And that's supposed to be and that's your black neighborhood. That's really supposed to be the American community, the American indigenous community. That's what our communities are supposed to be. And we're supposed to have our own names, our own language, our own flag. You know, because the white man got his own flag. He called it the Confederate flag. That's really their flag. That's a European flag. Just like the American flag is really a European flag. It's not an American flag because the people that came with the flag are not American. You can't put a flag in a country where you're not native to or indigenous to and claim it as yours, because the people were still there. That's an English flag. The American flag is not an American flag. It's a European flag. It's an English flag. The only American flag can be put up by the true American indigenous people. Those are the only ones that raise a flag. That's like me going to Italy and saying, oh, this is the Italian flag. They don't look at me like you're crazy. Or I go to Germany, this is the German flag. I make up my own flag. I'm staying in Germany. I moved to Germany. I migrated to Germany. I'm going to raise up a German flag. and there's still German people there. They're going to look at you like you crazy. That's how you should look at the so-called white man for raising up that so-called American flag, that United States European flag, that European colonist flag. That's not an American flag. And while the Americans, the real American people, are still here. The copper-colored American indigenous people are still here. You see. So that flag and all that, that's, you know, that's null and void. Real talk. Because these people are not even Americans. Caucasian people are not Americans. I told you, they're Europeans in the they're European citizens of the United States. That don't make you American. Again, 1828, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, American, the copper-colored races who were found here by the Europeans, who took on their name and became Americans. And basically what happened to those people? They were reclassified as black because you couldn't kill them all. That was the thing. You couldn't kill them all. You couldn't kill them all. They wanted to, but there was a lot of Indian uprisings and whatnot, a lot of them that was going on for over 200 years. A lot of people having land taken from, a lot of people killing people and stuff like that. That's why they wanted to push the Indians out of here, the presence of Indians out of America. And they did, because these people who call themselves Native Americans are not real Indians. They're not the real indigenous people of this land. They're $5 Indians and they're Mongoloids that came over here and mixed in. Yeah. But anyway, like I said, you sellouts, you ones who pushing this Pan-African stuff, we see you. We see you, and the so-called white man see you. And I'm going to tell you something. As soon as our people wake the hell up and realize that we are the real American indigenous people, and that's happening because not only Dane Calloway, Kareem, how all the people I was naming, they're not the only ones on YouTube bringing out this truth that we the American indigenous people. You got a whole bunch of people I don't subscribe to now. Definitely shout to Sister Enron Vincetta. Make them videos longer, please, woman. Please make your videos longer. You missed the longer videos, but, you know, shout out to them. You got a lot of these people here who are coming out with these video channels and whatnot, and they work is just as good. There's one guy called the Research Guy. All he does is break down the American indigenous stuff. Go check out his stuff. Subscribe to his stuff. See, I'm not a hater like that. I'll tell you wherever there's good information from on our American indigenous stuff. Go and look into that. But see, we the first and only real community that's pushing that. We the first and only real community that's pushing our American indigenous heritage. We ain't pushing black. We ain't pushing pan-Africanism. We ain't pushing none of that garbage. We as the Republic of America are standing up and staking our claim as the real American indigenous people. So, and like I said, the beast going to turn, the so-called white man, he's going to turn on you Negroes who was helping against our people. You entertainers, you so-called professors that's pushing Pan-Africanism, you entertainers who call around letting yourself be called African-American. I told y'all should make a public display of debunking and putting that African-American thing to rest. Because that is disgusting that in our country that we built off of our blood and sweat. There would be no America if there was not for slave labor. There would be no America if it was not for the indigenous American people being here. And because if the white people would have came here on their own and tried to survive on their own, they wouldn't have survived. In fact, when they tried to, they didn't survive. A lot of them died off here in America. Starvation, all kind of other stuff. The diseases they brought over here into this country. The pigs they brought here, the rats that followed them on the ships into America, all kind. I could go on and on, man. But again, for you sellouts, like I said, like I'll say like the guy Jason Black said, shout out to you, said, see, the white man, he always breaks his tools. Once he's finished with them, he breaks his tools. Meaning you so-called black people. Once he gets finished using you against us, like what they about to do to this chick Lizzo, you see, they call her R. Belly. But what they about to do to her, Billy Porter, all these other people out here who they basically use to push this degenerate behavior toward our people ain't buying it no more, so they about to throw these people to the curb, man. They about to kick these people to the curb. All you people that went against, you know, the evolution of your people, you sellouts, you reverends, you ministers, you fake historians, you pro-blacks, all that pan-African, y'all gonna get tossed to the curb by your white slave masters, who y'all still out here serving, who y'all happy to get them 6 degrees from in his university, where all you niggas are basically doing is repeating some garbage he said. some lies he telling, some more lies from the so-called white man. Let me see. The dangers of not following law and order. Now, why did I say that? What do I mean by that? What are the dangers of not following law and order? Because, and I'm not even just talking about the law of this land. I'm talking about the real laws. I'm talking about natural law and natural order. Meaning that we're supposed to carry ourselves as an upstanding people, as a righteous people, as a supreme people. We don't even have to look for degeneracy. What do I mean by that? All these other races of people, they have to look for degeneracy. You see, we don't really have that. You got some dusty, dingy niggas, some Negroes, some dusty, dingy Negroes who got the look of dustiness and degeneracy on them. But for the most part, our people who carry that sheen and that beautiful textured skin and hair, we look like we're supposed to only be doing righteous things here, man. We those people of the sun, those soul people. We're supposed to be those righteous people on the earth. All these other people, like I said, not all. I'm not going to say all again. I'm not going to be unfair and focused. You got some good people everywhere. You got some good white people. You got some good Asian. You got a little good in everybody's race. I'm not going to say they all bad. But what makes it appear that way is because they don't speak out against their own people when they're doing wrong. Like when I see so-called black people doing wrong, I speak out against it. You know, I don't consider that being under that whole black thing part of me because I'm not answering to that black stuff. So if black people are still ready to answer, so-called black people are still ready to answer to that whole black thing, then I can't be with y'all, man. I'm about the bright race, man. I ain't about no black nonsense, man. I'm not feeding into that. That's slave talk. Calling yourself a black man is a slave. It's like calling yourself a slave for the white man. Calling yourself a black man, calling yourself an African, all that slave talk. Why? Because the so-called white man was the one that told you was African. He told you was black. That didn't come from us. There was a debate on Sarnetta TV where Dane Calloway was on there, and there was this guy, I forget what the guy's name was. He was basically trying to stand up for the whole African thing because he pointed out some Negro in the damn 17 or 1800s who used the term saying we African and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, that's the white man was pushing that across to our people in the 1800s that we was African. They were saying that. So if they believe that we African, that's because they got that from the white man. So that's not even the thoughts of so-called black people. Black people, you can't go nowhere and show me originally where so-called black people was referring to themselves as African. You can't go nowhere and show me that. I'm talking about I'm talking about from the inception of the word Africa and the idea of it being a continent and things like that. You cannot show me anciently where black people was calling themselves African. If you can't show me where so-called black people was referring to themselves as African before the white man, then I'm not trying to hear it. Because if you accept it because the white man say it, he uses his so-called scholarship, which is basically something he's made up. He uses his scholarship because notice all of his scholarship and all his intellectual talk, it always goes into downgrading you and uplifting him. That's a red flag. Whenever your so-called educated, intelligent professors and all these other people with their BS theories speak on history, speak on anthropology and all this other stuff, it always goes into downgrading black people, so-called black people, and uplifting them. You ever notice that? They always goes into upgrading them and downplaying you, and y'all fall for that. You see, they skulls is bigger than, they are shaped a certain way, and these people's skulls are not shaped this way. All kind of foolishness they make up, man. They lying, man. Look, a lot of these Caucasian scientists are working off nothing but theories. They ain't no different than the reverends and them working off belief. They just try to get you to believe they know all this stuff when they really don't. Because if you really question them, you'll see just how much they really know, which is not really anything. They basically going off of observations. But anyway, this guy was up there telling him about that. And Dan Calloway seemed like he was a little perplexed by what the guy was saying. Like he didn't know how to answer. These guys call themselves, because black men call themselves African, that mean you African? Now, that don't mean nothing. You just listen to what some Caucasians say. That's all. That's where you got it from. That's why you believe you African, because the white man told you. He could have told y'all that y'all damn Martians, you would have believed it. He could have said y'all came from Mars. He could have said that you came up from the pits of hell, and that's what you hear. You niggas would have believed that. Whatever the white man said, y'all gonna believe, because he done got you to be hope fiends. He got the so-called black man and black women to be damn hope fiends. What was Obama's biggest damn thing he ran on? Hope. Hope. Nah, man. Hope is belief. Hope is being optimistic with people who are not. Again, this is what they try to teach you again. In lieu of having a law and a standard to follow for people, they try to teach you about, people's discretion, which I got a problem with. They'll say, okay, the guiding sentences of crimes and things like that is this, that, and the third if you do that. But then they'll say, oh, it's up to the judge's discretion. If he wants to give you that time or give you probation or give you a chance, it's up to his discretion. You know why they say that? Where they say, well, the judge can decide to not do what's in the law to do, which I told you. They don't have a law and order system here. They have a justification system here. In other words, 9 times out of 10, and they even said that, and that should be a shame, right? That should tell you something. Even the damn justice system don't know. 9 times out of 10, black offenders, so-called black offenders, and even if it's nothing small, they're always going to get given the maximum amount of time they can get. They try to give them 1,000 years for taking a piece of candy out of a store. They try to give them as much as possible, whereas a white person might get probation. They're going to lock you up for a month or 2 to put that on your record. They don't want to mess up white people's records. They'll let them go from the court. They'll let them go from this, that, and the third. They won't charge them because they don't want it. So the police, they could use their own discretion on whether they want to charge you or not, just like the judges. So that means you leaving the door open for corruption. You leaving the door open to favor one people over another. You see, this is the system you live under. This is the system they want you to vote for, where you got a bunch of racist, crooked, lying ass people claiming that they upholding the law. They not. They're basically, here to out to lock you up, put you in jail, set you up, do all these things. You should never trust these people. Don't trust your enemies. These people are our enemies, man. They are our enemies. But you so-called black people don't see that, man. You don't see that. And those who are supposed to be allies, how much allies do you really think they are? Because again, people are only going to go but so far for you. They're not going to stand up against their own people for you. They'll say, oh, well, I wouldn't call you a nigger. I wouldn't hang you out of a tree or burn you alive or do something to set you up. But I'm not going to go. And I think it's wrong that they're happy, but I'm not going to go. But I'm only going to go but so far and help you because I can't go against my own kind. That's how they really feel. All of them. Gotta wake up, man. You see, when we don't follow law and order, the dangers are not, I'm talking about natural law and natural order. Meaning we're supposed to be with our own kind, our own people. We're supposed to mix with our own people. Because when we don't do that, we're breaking natural law. The so-called black man, as I say, the bronze man was given a bronze woman to mix with. You're not supposed to be mixing with these other people. You were given your own woman to mix with. You was not, just like the white man was given his woman, the Asian man was given his woman. And like I said, for the people that want to mix their seed, y'all do what you do. I don't care. But I'm just letting you know, I'm informing you of natural law and natural order. Every race was given a woman after their own kind. You ain't supposed to be mixing your seed with these people. You're breaking natural law. You breaking boundaries and whatnot, boundaries that were set in place for a reason. Genetic boundaries, because we as the copper-colored people, we have supreme genetics. We got the supreme genes that everybody wants and wish they had. We got this beautiful carbon-coated skin, this nice woolly hair. We are beautiful people. We are a beautiful goddamn people. We are a beautiful people. And we act so ugly toward each other. And we embrace those who hate us. Our word ain't shit. As black people, your word don't mean nothing toward each other. Y'all stab each other in the back. All this stuff, man. But see, that comes with not following natural law and natural order, which is set in motion by the Lord, which is the true Lord. His name is Amen. Yeah, I'm going to break that down. So when you're not following the law and the order of the Most High and carrying yourself to the most highest state and the highest level, then guess what? You're going to fall victim to the beast and his policy system, because whenever so-called black people, y'all want to get out here, you young boys want to get out here and sell drugs, you want to get out here and gang bang and be in the streets, then don't cry when you break the law and whatnot, because y'all not supposed to be acting like that, man. You're not supposed to be acting like a gang of savages. You're supposed to be the heroes of the community. You young men and women, you're supposed to be the heroes of the community, especially you young men. You young, strong men in your teens, like that young boy who swam across the water to help out. He was like, what, 16, 17 years old. He jumped in the water to swim across it to help another so-called black man who was getting jumped on. That's how y'all supposed to be. Y'all supposed to be defending your own people, defending your own kind, protecting your own kind. You see a woman getting beat on and whatnot, y'all ain't supposed to pull out no goddamn camera. Especially if it's one of these race soldiers or one of these damn random cave people, one of these random cave people that's jumping on a woman, because that's what a lot of these Caucasian, a lot of these racist Caucasian males are. I'm not talking about all of y'all. The racist Caucasian openly, a lot of them attack women. They attack children. So your women and children not safe because they're cowards. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to approach a man head up. If they do, he got to be bigger, way bigger than you, because they cowards. That's why they go get the damn badge and the gun and things like that. They cowards. You see, if you seen them 9 times out of 10 and they ain't had that badge and gun on them, they wouldn't even look at you the wrong way. They wouldn't even look at you. If you seen them somewhere out and they ain't had a badge and gun, or they didn't have that gun on them, they wouldn't, and it was just you and them, they wouldn't even say shit half the time. They only get bold and brave when they can put their badge on and get their gun on. That's it. That's it. Any coward that would attack or jump on one guy and whatnot, or attack women, they don't straight up punch black women in the face. You better be careful. Your women, they don't got no respect for your women. Punch your women in the face, punch your children in the face, harm your children, kill your children. Y'all better realize what you're dealing with. And like I said, we're not following law and order. We don't understand the boundaries that's supposed to be there. There's supposed to be clear, defined boundaries there that we don't cross. We're supposed to not cross certain things as men and women. Certain things we're supposed to move within those boundaries. You see, we're supposed to stay within those boundaries. Men for women, men and women of their own kind, not letting our children be educated by our enemy, educating our own children. Those are the things that we're supposed to be standing up for as a community. But again, these so-called black people, y'all screwed up mentally, man. You screwed up mentally. Not participating in no elections and all this other nonsense because your vote don't mean shit. You don't get nothing for your vote. They telling you to vote in the Democratic election to help support the Democratic sham, because they don't give you nothing for your vote. Why are you so-called black people voting again? I need to know that. When you're not getting anything, you're not getting any reparations, you're not getting any equal protection under the law, you're not getting no crime bills passed for you. You got people who are nowhere in size and number on your level, but here it is, they giving Asian crime bills, they giving money for damn immigrants, which is really reparations. They don't give reparations for white people over and over, and they don't give reparations for fake Native American, $5 Indians. They people getting money, and they still get money. The fake Native Americans, they still get money. The $5 Indian, the descendant of the $5 Indians on the Doors Act, they still getting money. Our tax money, my tax, the illegals getting my tax money. You see? But you can't get no reparations. You can't get money for housing and things you want to pay. You can't get none of that. But these illegals, they just give that to them. Why? How is it that you can't get no reparations, but you giving money to people who are not even citizens here? You letting these people, you gonna tell them that people who are not citizens could be police officers? You so-called black men, you gang, all you guys who ain't got no damn records in Los Angeles, the only place where all this racism going down, y'all need to be showing up at these police departments in droves, filling out applications to be police officers. That's what you should be doing. Not just standing around and just waiting to be victimized and whatnot. You should be filling out and trying to join the police force. And if they tell you no, you gotta go to the Justice Department and whatnot and make them say why they not hiring you. That discrimination? Of course it is. Because they want to be the race soldiers. They want to terrorize you. That's the only reason why they want to put a badge and gun on, because it makes them feel powerful. It makes cowards feel powerful. That's the only reason why they want to do it. They don't care about upholding no law. They don't even know the law. Half these motherfuckers is illiterate, halfway illiterate. You see, bunch of backwater ass crackers and whatnot who just looking to abuse somebody because they cowards. They got mental issues, emotional issues. They got them a bitch made. A lot of bitch made who want to hide behind a group, hide behind guns, hide behind a whole force. But when it comes to man on man, they ain't about that. They cowards. And a coward is the most dangerous thing ever when you give them some authority and put a gun in their hand. So we have to keep law and order amongst ourselves. We have to do that ourselves way before it gets to the so-called white man. You know, so-called black people, y'all screwed up though, man. I hope the bright ones, the intelligent ones of our people are receiving this message and going forward with it. But anyway, let me go ahead. Let me see. Because I'm about to cut it short in a minute. I just had to get back up here and share my thoughts on this. Like I said, you so-called black people at that Alabama boat show, y'all did the right thing, man. Even though, like I said, it's a moment in time that needs to catch on. You need to catch on with that. That needs to be caught up on immediately. I'm not looking at nobody's questions, so I don't know if people have any questions or whatever the case is. My wife, she's supposed to be looking at. I guess she'll yell out if there's any questions. Let me see. I want to make sure I touched on everything. Is this really a patriarchal society? Because I always hear that. I'm not going to answer that question. No, it's a matriarchal society. This is a queendom. There's no kingdom here. There's a queendom here. There's no kingdom. The kingdom is fourth dimensional. The kingdom is what's going to come through. And why I say the kingdom, not even to be on no sexist thing, because, you know, king is really unisex thing. They say it's for a man, but again, kingdom, right, meaning law, because the men are the ones who bring the law, and the women maintain the order. So the kingdom has to come in order for, which is law, in order for the order to be maintained by the women. So it represents an upgrade in the man and the woman, their thinking and their roles as men and women. So when you have a queendom here, queendom, it means female. It also is, if you notice, it's very, it's also synonymous with homosexuals, because you hear a lot of these homosexual males calling themselves queens now. There was this show that comes on. I have my daughters watching this. I let my daughters watch this. My two daughters watch this. What's it called? Something's Corner. I forget what it's called. It'll come to me. Gracie's Corner. And Gracie's Corner, this is very popular. It was created by bronze people, a bronze man and his woman and their daughter. You know, they created this Gracie's Corner during the COVID thing as a YouTube, and it's become a YouTube sensation. You got millions of people subscribe to this. Children are watching this. So, you know, of course, they're going to add in children of other races, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They added in white children and Latino, which is fine. I have no problem with that. You know, they watch it. That's fine. They want to be represented. However, the issue I had is when they tried to introduce this guy, Big Frida, who this guy's, he's a homosexual, he's a sodomite. And, you know, hey man, whatever, that's your thing, man, whatever y'all into. But that should not be shoehorned into a children's show. His sexuality, which they shoehorned that into a damn children's show, they did a cartoon image of Big Frida, and the little girl said, "Hey, Big Frida," and he clearly has a man voice, talking about you the queen of bounce music. You calling a male, a so-called man, the queen of bounce music. So they call a lot of gay males queen, right? So again, that represents a female, effeminate spirit. That's not a womanly spirit. That is a queenly spirit, a queer spirit, or a sodomite type of energy on it, a sodomite spirit. That's what that is. That's an unnatural spirit. To call a man queen, you see, that's off. But they made sure they shoehorned that into the Gracie's Corner. I had to take my children away from that for a minute, man, because I don't want my children seeing that. I don't want my children being confused. I don't want my children learning that a man could be called a damn queen or a male could be called a queen. That's a heavy sodomite spirit on this, a heavy queenly sodomite spirit on this country. Even the so-called males that are making decisions, these Caucasian males who are in Congress and in the Senate, they got a heavy sodomite spirit on them too. They very queenly. And when you look at it, you find out about them, you find a lot of them sodomites, or they pedos, they all into all that. They all into all kinds of degeneracy, sexual perversion and degeneracy. But yet these are supposed to be the leaders that's making up laws and things like that. That's what this is okay. No, this is not a patriarchal society, but it's going to be. Because we need that going forward again. I already touched on it. Let me see. I want to make sure I get everything before I sign, because I think I touched on everything. You know. I'll say this right now. That was a question I had. Did the English colonists, now ask yourself this question. Where did the modern day white man learn to talk the way he talked? Where does he learn to talk the way he talked? Because remember, these people came over here with all kinds of accents and speaking different languages. Now, the English came over here. You could clearly hear the English language. You know the English language and their tone and everything and their accent sounds like. What happened to their accent? What happened to George Washington's accent? What happened to his people's accent? How come they started going? They went from talking like hey ho, tally ho, chap, and all this other stuff. How they go from that to talking like how we talk now, talking regular? How did that happen? Where did their accent go? The Irish, even them, they come over here with an accent. The Irish got an accent. The English got an accent. All them people, the Italians, all those people come over here with accents. And then, of course, they amongst their family members. Right? They're amongst their family members who have the same accent. So you would think the same accent would be carried by the children. So how are they breaking their accent, and who are they trying to sound like? What happened to their accent? How they go from the English sound to talking like how they talk? All that came about in America. So that means that you had to have influence with some people in America who sounded totally different from you, and you started talking like them. Who could that be? Could that be the bronze copper colored people that you started mimicking, that you started dumping out your English accents for, your Irish accent for, your German accent? Because all y'all carry accents from Europe. All of y'all. What happened to y'all accent? Why ain't y'all accent still with y'all today? Answer: because you copied us. They copied us. They took a lot of our American indigenous tones and frequencies and words and incorporated into it. Because again, these people are sick. They wanted to become us. They wanted to erase us and become us. And like I say with you so-called pan-Africanists, you're guilty of helping in this, because you helping to erase our American indigenous heritage. If you want to keep pushing this African lie so that you can keep getting your money or whatever you get, or you just lie, y'all just don't want to make white people mad. That's another thing with a lot of these people that don't want to get away from the African and black thing, and they start saying, no, we the copper-colored American indigenous people. You know why they don't do that? Because big thing, they don't want to make white people mad. A lot of these pan-Africanists don't want to make white people mad, because see, white people have already staked their claim to America. You hear them sitting up here talking, this is my country, America is my country and whatnot, and get out my country. They start telling black people to go back to Africa, get out my country, sounding stupid. They don't even know the history. And these assholes forget they came from Europe. They're Europeans. They're not even American. These assholes forget that. But the $5 doors acting all that, try to gas them up into believing they Americans and whatnot, because they have to erase us. In order for them to be American, they have to erase us or get us to call ourselves something else. The end comes the word African American, black, all false titles for our people that a lot of you so-called blacks are willing to uphold. Don't trust these people that's telling us we black. Don't trust these people that's telling us we African. Don't trust these people that's calling us trying to use African American, Negro. Don't trust none of these people. They're not with us. They are tools of the so-called white man. I don't give a damn what they say. They're all that, what difference do it make? It's semantics. It's not semantics. It is not semantics. You either are this or you're not that. Ain't no semantics involved. There's no semantics. My skin is not black. You're not going to sit here and convince me that I got black skin. You see? No. Why? Because you want to appease white people. You don't want to disobey what they said. If he tell you black, and we're trying to keep the peace, and we want to keep the white people off our ass, and we don't want them getting mad at us if we say we the real American indigenous, well the hell with them. Let them get mad. Let them get mad at the truth. Who gives a damn if they get mad at the truth? You should, y'all should be mad at the fact that you had to live a damn lie. You ain't mad at the fact that you got to live a lie. The hell with what they get mad at. Truth is truth. And if you're not standing up for the truth, I don't know what to tell you. In other words, this American accent that they have that's not English anymore, that's not European, all that, the vernacular and the way they talk comes from us. Hell, you see it today. You see them talk like us today. Our slang, our swag, and whatnot, they get that from us. Our words we use, they copy us today. So it's not far-fetched to see that obviously they copied the indigenous people here in America start talking like us. That's why they got rid of their accents, because they wanted to blend in and be like us. Let's see. Make sure I got everything, because I'm about to close out in a minute. Just want to make sure I got everything. I'm going to be doing my radio broadcast tonight at 10:30, by the way, on MENTELLECT radio, Blog Talk. Catch us at 10:30 tonight. We had technical difficulties the other night. Hopefully we don't have those same difficulties, because gotta get this message out. Let's see. I'm just checking through my notes, making sure I got everything I want to touch on, because I don't want to miss nothing. I said, I didn't have this for a time. I'm gonna address this anyway. Does the beast need black people to participate in their own oppression? Yeah, they do. White people need black people to participate in their own oppression. Why do you think they keep trying to get you to vote for nothing? Why do you think they keep trying to guilt you into voting for the Democratic Party, scare you with the Republicans? Oh, if y'all don't vote and come in and vote, the Republicans are going to take over. So what? It's the same thing, whether it be Republican, whether it's Democrat. We're going to thrive or lose regardless. When Ronald Reagan was in office, people thrived. Black people made money. They thrived, man. They thrived under Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan he was a Republican. Well, I never seen black people conditions change, whether it be Republican or Democrat. I didn't see it change. In fact, it got worse under Democrats, because these are the same people who claim that this is the party for black people. Then you see on all these Democratic cities, black people are getting beat up by the police. The Democrat governors of these places are not pushing no laws to stop this abuse of black people by the police. They're not doing that. And then if you try to fight back and you do something, they want to lock you up. So this is what you're voting for. You're voting for nothing. You're not getting any reparations, yet they digging in your pockets, giving your hard-earned money, your tax money, to a bunch of illegals. They're giving your money to a bunch of Ukrainians. They're giving your money to a bunch of fake $5 Native Americans, giving them all reparations. They gave white people reparations after slavery. Here it is. These people was holding people hostage. The country paid them reparations, let them keep their land, let them do all the things they have and whatnot. So, and they were given land in the Homestead Act. They were given millions of acres of land that they did nothing with. So, and the GI Bill, which gave them homes and whatnot. So white people have been given reparations since they gave into America, and they still get reparations. They still get reparations. A lot of these corporations get government money, even for bailouts and things like that. That's keeping the system of white supremacy going, because you're keeping white corporations going. You're not saying, let me give a piece of this pie, this tax money to the indigenous people, the bronze people, to let them start businesses and whatnot, which is what the Democrats are supposed to be doing. Well, let me give this reparation, cut this check for reparations for black people so they can know that we on their side. They ain't doing a goddamn thing. Let me get back to this Math Hoffa thing. I almost forgot. This guy, Math Hoffa, he had Robert Kennedy on there, which is Robert Kennedy's son, the one who got, I guess he's a junior. But this guy, he looks to be in some kind of bad health. He looks like he got some kind of breathing problem. I don't know what his ailment is. Robert Kennedy. Go look up that Math Hoffa, my expert opinion show with Robert F. Kennedy. When they asked him about reparations, man, he was talking all that liberal shit, and basically he obviously was on their show because they trying to get more black men to vote Democrat. Again, being the Democratic Party, they need black men to keep, they need black people to keep the Democratic Party alive. This has to be a two-party system here because the so-called white man believes in controlling both sides, be it Republican and Democrat, because it's all the same thing. All them people that's headed the Democrat, the DNC, the Democratic Party, whatever, they're really Republicans. Joe Biden's a Republican that's playing like he a goddamn Democrat. They switch sides back and forth. That shit don't mean nothing to them. It's all a game they playing. Joe Biden's a Republican. All of these Caucasians with money are Republicans. Okay? They just overseers of the Democratic Party. They just watch the Negroes in the Democratic Party to make sure, like, see what y'all doing. They just really the overseers of the Democratic Party. They know the Democratic Party ain't going to do nothing for you. In fact, the Ku Klux Klan and all the racists was in the Democratic Party in the beginning when they set it up. And it was black people that was in the Republican Party. It was black people was the overwhelming Republicans in that party until the whites wanted to take it over because, see, Republicans are supposed to represent conservatism. They're supposed to represent, you know, traditional values, family, things like that. You know, no abortions, you know, none of this stuff. No, you know, freedom to worship. You know, basically conservative, upscale and forward-thinking ways of living and whatnot. This is what the Republicans was pushing. That was why black people was attracted to the Republican Party. Black people wasn't no damn Democrats. The damn Ku Klux Klan, they was the Democrats. The racist Caucasians were the Democrats. Now they flip y'all around to being in the Democratic Party so all the whites can predominantly take over because, again, everything with them is a status and a prestige thing. They knew the Republican thing. They wanted to be all white. And they want you Negroes to be, and a few little black Republicans, whatever. But they want the Republican Party to be all white. And most of the people that's calling themselves Republicans, you can't even really afford to be a Republican. A lot of these white people that's calling themselves Republicans, they ain't got two nickels to rub together. It's just for them, it's just a thing of putting a white man in office. That's all. A lot of them don't even have the money to be Republicans. That go right back to what I said, these Caucasian wealthy people, they will surround themselves with white trash to be their stormtroopers. They'll give them jobs, police officers, security officers, all kinds. They'll put them in positions to make a living. But they just get these white people and surround themselves with these white, these Caucasian Europeans as they stormtroopers. You see, like how they got the LA County Sheriff's Office is full of a bunch of Latinos, a bunch of racist Latinos who taking a page from the damn Klan. Because that's how they do run around like a damn Ku Klux Klan. That's all they do, run around like a clan of people trying to cause chaos and confusion. You see. That has nothing to do, you calling whatever you calling what you're doing a heritage. That ain't got nothing to do with no heritage. Heritage is, if your heritage is abusing people and that's all you got, that your heritage is trying to deprive people of things, create chaos and confusion. Like another example I got to point out, I forget where it was. One of these places, I forget what the city was. You had the Ku Klux Klan going to black churches and putting things on, announcing that the Klan is back. Why are you going to black churches harassing those people? These people, why? I forget what state it was. You going to harass a bunch of people. It ain't bad enough that they worship in your image of white Jesus and white God. That's bad enough. You going to just harass them and just make their life a living hell? Because y'all people are mentally disturbed. If you want to be racist and then do your thing, but leave people alone. Why are you disturbing these people's churches and whatnot? Like a bunch of dirty ass, poor white trash, bunch of dirty white, poor white trash who angry at their situation. So in order to make themselves feel better about their situation, they got to go and harass other people. That's really a bitch energy in you. A lot of you white racist males got a lot of bitch energy, a lot of bitch made energy in you. Bunch of homicides. A lot of bitch made energy in you white racists. A lot of y'all, because again, y'all always just bother me. Y'all like a little pest, like a damn mosquito, effeminate and pink mosquitoes. I call you guys pink mosquitoes. Anyway. But they need you so-called black people to participate in your own oppression. Voting Democrat, being a part of the voting process altogether is really you participating in your own oppression. Because why would you vote for something where you're not going to get anything for your vote? Votes are about people, it's not just about you exercising your right to vote because, oh, my grandmother and my grandfather fought for the right to vote. Cut that shit out, man. Cut it out. They was going to let black people vote regardless because that's a way of checking the temperature of the people. You didn't have to fight for no vote. They was telling black people, they were saying, well, you can't vote if you're Indian, if you're American indigenous, you can't classify, you can't vote. Only Indians are not allowed to vote. In other words, the indigenous people are not allowed to vote. You got to be black or African in order to vote. So that's why a lot of them changed themselves over to African or so-called black so they could vote. You can look that up. That was a thing of just trying to live and assimilate and just like black people always do. Black people just trying to live their life, man, for the most part. And you got people that are disturbed by you living your life. People who got mental issues, like I said, who want to bring their racism. Because again, I don't care if you racist. I care less if you don't like me. I don't like you 9 times out of 10 either. But I'm not going to disturb your peace. And you shouldn't go around disturbing people's peace, because if you disturb people's peace, I don't care if you're a police officer, I don't care if you're just a random white person, a Karen, a Ken, then you should get what comes in. You should get what's coming to you. You should get your judgment for disturbing the peace. That's real law. That's real law. Karma is real law. That's natural law that y'all going to end up experiencing. All right, we about to, let me see. I think I got everything, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I pretty much touched on everything. Wait a minute. My thoughts on I touched on the, I gotta get this before I go. This is gonna probably be my last one. My thoughts on this Ron DeSantis thing in Florida. I gotta say this to you people in Florida, man. I gotta say this. Hold on, I'm gonna I'll smoke a little something to this right now. Hold on. Let me say something. Let me tell you something. You Negroes in Florida. Ron DeSantis and these racists out there, they're trying to get past something into law, into the system to try to teach that slavery was beneficial to black people and that black slavery wasn't so bad and that it was beneficial to black people and that they learned skills and trades through slavery. So then when people ask Ron DeSantis, says you pushing this, what skills and trades did black people learn through slavery? He had to say, I don't know, you got to ask them. We asked, well, how, that's like saying, to say that slavery benefited black people is the same as saying the Holocaust benefited Jewish people. That's a fucking insult. That is an insult. I cursed. Yeah, I did curse. That is a fucking insult. If you so-called, if they passed that, I've heard they passed, they're going to be teaching that. If one so-called black person, after they pass that bullshit, to sit up here and get you to basically support your own oppression. If one black person send their child to school in Florida after they pass that law to teach that, y'all some idiots. You are some damn idiots. Every so-called black person should pull their children out of high school, grade school, everything across the board, and then start setting up charter schools. If they're going to teach your children that bullshit. How dare they sit up here and teach your, that should be a slap in your face. And y'all should, like I said, you show you show that you're not going for, you're going to sit, they're going to think you're going to send your children to school and learn that. Everybody, every so-called black person, and not even just black person, every so-called righteous person who knows that's not right to teach people and who are in their right state of mind, you should pull your children out of that school, out of schools in Florida, all over the place. You want to teach it to your children. You're not teaching that to my child. If y'all sit up here and let your children go take your children to school after that because you niggas are lazy, you don't want to put a school together, you don't want to homeschool your children, stop some kind of charter school or something like that, then man, y'all deserve what happened to you, man. That goes to show you that proves that, or if y'all just sit up here, y'all Negroes just sit up here and damn vote after they not going to give you nothing. No reparations, no protection under the law, no nothing. Just vote for us and shut up, nigga. Just vote for us and shut up, nigga. Cause your grandmother fought for it. They got dog sick on them for going to the voter booth. Y'all could have stayed home, and that's what the hell you need to do until you get reparations until not no study, We gonna no. Cut the goddamn check. I'll take that out of black authority. Cut the damn check, man. Cut the check. Our people deserve it. Our people are out here as citizens, fought in every war in this country. Wouldn't be no American economy if it wasn't for black people. Wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for black people here in this country. But yet we get nothing. And everybody's able to take our tax money to add in something. We also got to go and fight in wars in this country. We don't get to say, we get deprived of things in this country. But when it comes time to go to war, they want us to sign up. When it comes time to vote to keep this sham ass political system going, they want us to vote. You see? Don't do that. Stay home. Don't vote. If they ain't giving you nothing, I'm talking about cutting checks. Ain't no studies, no HR 40s, no study. Cut the check. You ain't going to do that. You're not going to cut no checks. You're not going to pass no bills or put it to whereas or get the same status as the so-called fake Native Americans because we supposed to have their status, meaning that we supposed to have our own lands. We supposed to have our own police force. They not even supposed to be arresting us as the American indigenous. They ain't supposed to be arresting us. They ain't supposed to be sitting on no juries for us because you already know what the jury is or a jury of your peers is when it comes to white man. They always collect. Oh, you the black person being accused and it's 12 of your peers, a bunch of white people. Not one black person on the damn jury, a bunch of white people. If it's one white person, one black person, a whole bunch of white people that's going to outrule that one. Because the whole thing is to send you to jail and find a way to railroad you. And this is what you voting for, your own oppression. Keep in mind the word Democrat means to demo or to destroy something. There's no democracy here. This is a damn dictatorship. You don't get to choose where your tax money go. I don't want to give my money to a bunch of Ukrainians. I don't want to give my money to a bunch of illegal aliens. I don't want to give my money to a bunch of fake ass $5 Indians, but I ain't got no choice in the matter. Now do I? I want to give my money to me. I want to give my money to me in reparations. My money to me. Cause I've been paying taxes ever since I was able to work in this country. I've been paying taxes. And it's going to other people. And my people out here struggling. Don't send your children to that. Let me make sure. I think I'm good on this. I don't think I got anything else. If there's any questions and comments, my lovely wife who's watching, she can come out and let me know if there's any questions and comments. That's it. I talked about the justice system, the court system being a justification system. It's not a system of law and order. It's a justification system. That's why if you notice, everything in the court system is what? They plea bargain everything. You got to justify what you did. You got to testify to what you did. Justify it in order to see if you can get off or not. Everything is justification. And everything is a plea bargain or a deal. You know what I'm saying? They want you to take a plea bargain before you get judged. So, that's basically. Do I have any questions? Huh? Any questions?
Yeah.
What's the question?
What's the difference between Indians and Hindus?
What's the difference between Indians and Hindus? America was at one time called India, whether you know it or not. That's why in America you got the West Indies. That's how you know we was the real Indians. Indian is another way of saying indigenous. All right. Indian is really just another way of saying indigenous. All right. Hindus are that's a whole nother group of people. They're not really Indians. They're Hindus. Their religion, those people are called Hindus. Their country was originally called Hindustan, not India. That didn't come to the 50s because obviously the so-called white man in this country, they wanted to get the term Indian out of America. You see, while they was transplanting the word India, which was what America used to be called, and you could go back in the records and see where they was referring to us, so-called black people before Negro, they was referring to us as Indians. They called us Indians because Indian is just another way of saying indigenous. It has nothing to do with a race of people. That's just a short term for the white man because that Indian and indigenous is the same thing. That's synonymous. Indian and indigenous is the same thing. The people in Hindustan are Hindus, and their religion is Hindi. Their language is Hindi. They're not Indians. They're not Indians. So that's the difference. We the real Indians, aka indigenous peoples of the Americas. That word Indian is for us, not for them. All right? Anything else? Anything else? Dang. Hello? Anything else? Another question?
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Okay. So that's all I'm gonna touch on. We'll be back again. I'm gonna try to close these gaps up. Check out MENTELLECT Radio tonight on Blog Talk. We should be up and going 10:30. Subscribe to this channel. Share this High and Mighty Talks. Share this on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Go check out the Ethnic American channel with Sister Enra Vanzetta, the Ethnic American channel. She got some very good content up there. Go check out the Dane Callaways, your Karemios. Check out this guy, the Research Guy. He's got a good channel. Check out the people who bringing out the truth about our American indigenous heritage and who we really are. No, we are not African. We have nothing to do with Africa. We did not come from Africa. We was always here in America. We are indigenous to America, not Africa. But that's it. I'm going to close out in the name of Amen, by the power of Amen. And Amen we trust, and Amen we thank, and in Amen we continue forward forever. Good night. You take me out. Oh, check out the She Fly shirt. That's going to be on our site. One of our characters from Unlimited Epics. And the Underlord stuff. All our stuff coming. We're going to have links to everything.